What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. I have a an absolute beautiful article from Daniel Henninger. And I want to go ahead and I want to read this entire article because this is probably one of the best articles I've read. I guess you could say a canary in the coal mine for Democrats. Now, will Democrats take this warning from Daniel Henninger from the Wall Street Journal? I don't know, but they certainly should. And I do have to say, it rings eerily similar to what we've been talking about on the show for the last 6 months, since the very first indictment of Donald Trump. So beautifully written that I had to get behind this microphone and share it with you. So the title of the article is called The High Price of Democrats' Anti-Trump Lawfare. So it says the newest buzzword in our politics is lawfare, or using the legal system as a weapon against a political opponent. It sits before us now as a spectacle of political gluttony. How many lawsuits, court motions, and judgments against Donald Trump can the Democratic Party chow down on? More disturbing is the high price the American system may pay for this excess. Consider the groaning table. A Manhattan jury awarded E. Jean Carroll $83.3 million in a defamation suit against Mr. Trump, who posted a $91.6 million bond, including interest. New York Judge Arthur Engoron has ordered Mr. Trump to pay a total of $450 million in a civil fraud trial over valuations of his net worth. New York State Attorney General Letitia James says if the massive bond isn't posted, she'll seize Mr. Trump's New York buildings. And as of right now, when they were writing this article on the 13th, Donald Trump has seemingly came up with the $500 million to appeal his case. Some of the most egregious stuff we've ever seen. And of course, the media is on fire because he actually was able to come up with the money. They're pissed off because Donald Trump was able to come up with the money because Donald Trump told the judge and Letitia James that this is ridiculous. No one could come up with this kind of money. And so these media talking heads are pissed off that Donald Trump actually came up with the $500 million in cash, all right, in cash, liquid assets, in order to just appeal his case. Now, I don't know about you, but I am pretty sure the framers may have predicted something like this would happen, this type of authoritarianism or totalitarianism. And I would think the Eighth Amendment of the Bill of Rights would protect somebody in this case. The phrase, cruel and unusual punishment, which would be something the framers of this country absolutely knew was going to happen in the future. Because that's what tyranny brings. They bring cruel and unusual punishment. And so I thought it was fitting to let you know in the middle of this article as we're reading this that Donald Trump has come up with the money and the left is pissed off about it. As if what? They're mad that Donald Trump didn't just let Letitia James seize his properties in Manhattan, seize his properties in his golf courses in New Jersey, seize Mar-a-Lago, as if he's just supposed to sit on the sidelines and watch a rogue district attorney, a Democrat district attorney, a partisan rogue Democrat judge steamroll and seize his properties and sell them to their buddies for pennies on the dollar? I don't think so. I would be fighting back too. And to be honest, a lesser man would have folded and crumbled by now. Where did he get it from? I have no idea. Because I looked into this and he hasn't sold any properties. So somebody loaned him the money. He got the money somehow, some way. We don't know. But I will bring up that last week I was reading an article where Elon Musk had a meeting with Donald Trump, a breakfast. And of course, the media asked him very first thing, did he ask you for any money? And Elon responded with, no, he didn't ask me for any money. We just had breakfast. So if Donald Trump were to get $500 million in liquid assets anywhere, I would probably say the richest man in the world would be a pretty good start. Did he loan Donald Trump the money? I don't know. But I'm sure we're going to find out in the coming days. Here we go. New York State Attorney General Letitia James says if the massive bond isn't posted, she'll seize Mr. Trump's New York buildings. In Georgia, notwithstanding the mess Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis made of herself and her case, the fact remains she indicted Mr. Trump and 18 other defendants for violating the state's Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act in connection with the 2020 presidential election. The presiding judge dismissed 6 of the 41 counts on Wednesday. Colorado, Maine, and Illinois took various legal actions to ban Mr. Trump from the 2024 presidential ballot, efforts recently blocked by a unanimous Supreme Court decision, which means you had 6 conservatives, you had 3 liberals. It was a 9-0 ruling, which means this case was trash. It should have never been brought to the Supreme Court. And I do have to say, for the 2 lawyers, I can't remember their names off the top of my head at the moment, for the 2 lawyers that brought this novel legal theory that states can remove a presidential candidate off the ballot, they should be under investigation by the Bar Association. Because why? Because that's exactly what they're doing to Trump's attorneys. Like John Eastman. He's on trial defending his law license because he was the one that introduced the novel legal theory of challenging the 2020 election. So why aren't these 2 people that introduced this novel legal theory to remove Donald Trump off the ballot, why aren't they being investigated by the bar? Double standards, that's why. It's rules for thee, but not for me. So Donald Trump is the exception for everything, and I guarantee you that's probably something similar that they would say. Yeah, but it's Donald Trump. That's what they would say. So I just wanted to fill you in with that little piece of information. That's my opinion. I think these 2 people, both of them should be brought up on ethic charges by the Bar Association. That's what I say, but that's just me. All right, moving on. So, Special Counsel Jack Smith is attempting to bring Mr. Trump to trial on separate sets of federal charges. One over possession of classified documents, another for the former president's action the day of the 2021 Capitol riot. The issue of presidential immunity in the latter case goes before the Supreme Court next month. And of course, a trial will begin March 25th in Manhattan, brought by local prosecutor Alvin Bragg, in which Mr. Trump is accused of disguising hush money payments during the 2016 presidential campaign to porn star Stormy Daniels. And I put hush money in quotations because it's called a non-disclosure agreement, not hush money. That's what this was. They call it hush money to make it sound worse than what it is. I thought it was fitting to include that into his piece, but that is of my own words. You can call it hush money. The media is calling it hush money because they want it to sound worse than what it actually is. It's actually an NDA, which Stormy Daniels violated, by the way. So go figure. Stormy Daniels violates a non-disclosure agreement, and it's Donald Trump that gets sued? It's Donald Trump that's facing criminal charges? Make that make sense. The argument on behalf of this really quite unprecedented legal offensive boils down to one idea. No one is above the law. True. That view is sometimes known as ensuring respect for the law. My single sentence reply is that the Democrats' use of lawfare on this scale makes it likely that respect for the law will decline, and dangerously so, among much of the American public. Bingo! You see lawlessness in the streets, folks? You see all the lawlessness and anarchy spreading across our country? There's this sense of lawlessness that these people have, these people robbing and looting stores, essentially saying, hey, look, if the politicians can do it, why can't we? It's just the law. Apparently, we can get around certain things. Oh, nothing's going to happen to me because nothing happened to them. The one thing that I think, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and finish this article, and I'm gonna give my opinion on the whole thing at the very end. If Democrats had limited their legal offensive to Mr. Smith's 2 federal initiatives, conservatives would have absorbed it as politics as usual, however degraded that benchmark. But the American left never knows when to stop. So it is waging the Get Trump legal assault on every imaginable front. Biden classified document special counsel Robert Hur, exercising prosecutorial discretion, said the current president isn't exonerated but won't be prosecuted, leaving Joe Biden to the court of public opinion, which is where both of the 2024's presidential candidates belong. Instead, the Republican nominee stands in dock after endless dock. That the lawsuits have backfired politically, boosting Mr. Trump into an easy victory in the primaries, is incontestable. The media lately has been writing that the Trump legal team's strategy of quote-unquote delay is working, implying that Mr. Trump was supposed to just take it all passively in the neck. At least half of the country is coming to believe that the legal system is being swallowed by rank political partisanship. Was it worth it? It's been some 400 years since Shakespeare wrote, quote, "The first thing we do is let's kill all the lawyers," unquote. Most people in the centuries since come to believe and established that the rule of law was better than the law of the jungle. But that could change. Future Republican lawfare is inevitable. In an interview last fall, Mr. Trump said it could certainly happen in reverse. Another new word in our politics is rigged. The excesses of lawfare have contributed to that systemic loss of faith as well. The 2020 election wasn't rigged, but a lot else looks like it is. Most notably, calls by the left to pack the Supreme Court, rigging its decisions. Eventually, respect for the law starts to look like a mug's game. To my knowledge, Shakespeare never wrote, quote, "kill all the scientists." Science also spent the past 400 years establishing its credibility with the public. That's eroding as science has been enlisted, by scientists no less, to serve political goals. The pandemic. Appeals to quote-unquote science were used during the COVID pandemic to reorder society. With school closings, store shutdowns, and social distancing, dissenters within the science community were suppressed and ostracized, as has happened for years to scientists who disagree with the climate consensus. Like lawfare, the results of science fair were predictable. Pew Research reported in November that public trust in scientists was in decline. Nearly 40% of Republicans or Republican-leaning independents have little or no confidence in scientists. How can that be good? The hyper-politicization of these important professions is being carried out by people once known as the best and the brightest. It reflects a steady moral corruption of crucial institutions. It normalizes the hypocrisy of standing on the moral high ground to deploy the lowest political means. The American people needed a presidential election this year on the merits. Such as they are, instead, legal opportunism may cast the biggest vote. Bravo. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not read a better piece from the Wall Street Journal than that right there. I can't tell you, and we say this on the show all the time, I can't tell you how much damage this is doing to all of our institutions. Just like the scientists, the political science has damaged our health institutions, vaccination rates, by increasing vaccine hesitancy. Go down the list. The climate insanity, the climate religion has made things worse. Because now people are starting to realize that it's all a sham. It's all a sham. It's a way for politics to get money. It's a way for giant corporations to get huge tax breaks. That ends up falling onto the American people's lap, which we are paying for right now with this monstrosity of a bill that was just passed by the Republicans. But I digress. We're going to get into that in the next segment. The thing is, folks, is the double standard is here. Everybody can see it, and Democrats aren't doing any favors for anybody when they're constantly pulling their hair out and browbeating people because Donald Trump won't just lay down and take it. Of course he's going to delay. What is he supposed to do? Just roll over and let them throw him in prison? I would be delaying it too, because he knows it's all bullcrap. It's all political lawfare. Unfortunately, Democrats thought it was more beneficial to destroy the trust and credibility people have in our justice system by just letting Donald Trump face Joe Biden in another election. Joe Biden beat Donald Trump once before, right? I mean, if they think the election wasn't rigged and they think Joe Biden won fair and square, then what are they afraid of? Why can't Joe Biden just beat Donald Trump fair and square? Why do they have to use lawfare? Why this sudden rush to destroy our entire justice system and our government institutions and our rule of law to give Joe Biden a handicap? This will go down in history as one of the most destructive 4 years this country has ever seen. And I'm talking the Civil War, World War II, Vietnam, the Revolutionary War. And I'll give you one better. The Democrat Party has done more damage to this country than any of our foreign enemies ever could have. Think about that. The Democrat Party has managed to erode the trust and credibility in our justice system, the trust and credibility in our intel agencies, the trust and credibility in our health institutions, the trust and credibility in our elections. Every single institution that the Democrats have used in order to get Trump on this jihad that they've been on is now on the brink of collapse, is hanging over the cliff, and Democrats are stepping on its fingers. Will they learn? Probably not. Probably not. And so the American people, the sane, rational ones, are going to have to sit on the sidelines and watch their country be destroyed while they pay for it. It's unbelievable how we ended up in this situation. All Republicans did was just vote for Donald Trump in 2016. They didn't ask for all of this insanity. They were given a candidate. They chose Donald Trump. They voted for Donald Trump. And because of that, they have to watch their country be turned to dust? Their institutions? They have to worry about what type of system, what type of government, what type of nation they're leaving their children and their grandchildren? And Democrats will say it's all worth it. For the Democrats that are cheering and supporting this, for the Democrats that are clapping laughing like hyenas at the notion that Donald Trump should have his properties seized by the state and sold, I have to ask you, when history writes about these days, you sure you're going to be on the right side? I don't think so. See, this is the problem with a lot of people on the left, is they don't know history. They don't read history. They really don't know anything about anything. They run completely off emotions. It is the fad of the day, right? And a lot of it is because of secularism. A lot of it is because, just like G.K. Chesterton said, a man that doesn't believe in God, it's not that he doesn't believe in nothing, it's that he'll believe in anything. And so Democrats go through these cycles of what to worship next. And unfortunately, they've come to the realization that they're going to start worshiping government. And so now we have a faction of a political party in this country that is perfectly okay with the government getting bigger and bigger and bigger, just so long as it gives them their desired outcome. They're perfectly okay with the intel agencies spying on Americans, just so long as they spy on Donald Trump too. Everything is in the name of getting Donald Trump. And honestly, I don't even think they realize the damage that they're leaving behind. In some cases, I think some do. But for the most part, I think they have this tunnel vision. They're so blinded by their hatred for Donald Trump that they can't see it. A lot of them are just in this extreme state of denialism. Some people will say that they're better off now than they were 4 years ago, 5 years ago under Donald Trump. No, these people are lying to themselves. That's how you know. And mind you, these are the people that actually respond. A lot of the responses I get are whatever, and then they just walk away. But these, ladies and gentlemen, these days are going to be written about by history, and it's going to judge these people very harshly. It's going to judge Letitia James. It's going to judge Jack Smith, Joe Biden, Judge Engoron, go down the list, Big Fannie Willis. It's going to judge all these people very harshly. And I promise you, you're on the right side. There's like this pathological sensation that these people want to see Donald Trump suffer. Why? I don't know. But we've certainly never seen anything like this before in this country. And you have to remind yourself, I think sometimes people forget that this country is not that old. You know, this country is 250 years old. And I think sometimes people take this country for granted and think that it can't possibly collapse. It absolutely can. Just think back. It wasn't that long ago that we were fighting a revolutionary war to liberate ourselves from a tyrannical king. It was not that long ago. And we have turned this country into one of the greatest empires to ever exist in mankind's history. And here it is in 4 years, Democrats and the Uniparty, the military-industrial complex, there's many facets to this thing. But it is the lawfare that, without a doubt, will end up doing the most damage to this country. I think one of the biggest things that is missing in this country right now is accountability. People are craving accountability right now. People are asking themselves, why is nothing happening to these people? Why are these people just going to get away with it? I'm serious. I see the level of defeatism, you know, the level of surrender that I see on social media from people, you know, that leave comments on my show about, you know, when we talk about Joe Biden getting away with essentially, no, not essentially, with willfully retaining classified documents and sharing those classified documents with unauthorized sources. He's going to get away with it. He's not going to be charged. And so one of the comments I see the most on my content is, they'll get away with it. We are so lacking accountability in this country. And believe it or not, accountability, it is vital for a functioning society. Because think about it like this. Imagine there's a state in this country that never held doctors or surgeons accountable for botched surgeries or malpractice. Imagine if they were unable to be charged or sued. How many people you think are going to be going to that surgeon or that doctor? None. Why? Because there's no accountability. It is accountability that is the foundational element to a functioning society. People must be held accountable, and when people see that people that do wrong, or people that perform malpractice or botch surgeries, or they willfully retain classified documents, when people see those people doing that and they're not held accountable, it sets a deep rot into the system. It goes almost unnoticeable, but it does damage. It does damage that you can't actually see right away. It starts to grow this meritless system, this unaccountable system, in which nobody's ever held accountable. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what's the point of laws? Well, what's the point of having a medical license? Well, what's the point of having a law license? It starts to break down the very fundamentals of a society and why we do things. And I think that is the number one thing people are missing in this country, is accountability. There's only one side being held accountable for anything right now, and that is Donald Trump, Republicans, or anybody that's in Donald Trump's orbit. This is what everybody's starting to see. Now, whether the left admits it or not, they certainly see it. And because of that mistreatment of justice, because of that obvious double standard, you're going to start seeing crime in the street get worse and worse and worse. Because when one side sees that they can get away with everything, you're eventually going to have a one-party state. Like, think about that. I mean, to go back to my previous example, Is a doctor really going to perform his best when he knows he's not really going to be held accountable, even if he messes something up? Is a heart surgeon that's never held accountable for any mistakes or for anything he does wrong, is he going to be performing the best heart surgery he can? Of course not. And what are you going to have? You're going to have a collapse of that doctor's office. He's not going to be a heart surgeon for long because nobody's going to go to him. Because mankind, as from a social perspective, mankind expects accountability. And right now, they're not getting it. Nobody's held accountable. Nobody was held accountable for Russia collusion. Hillary Clinton wasn't held accountable for her emails. Joe Biden's not being held accountable for his stuff. No Democrats are being held accountable. Only one side is being held accountable right now, and that is Republicans, Donald Trump. That is it. Another perfect example. The reason why the media is still out there misleading the public with stupid comments like Donald Trump's bloodbath comment, and then completely lying to the public, misleading the public by taking his words out of context. They're going to keep doing it because they're not held accountable. People will turn on their show the next day, and they're losing viewers at a stunning pace. But somehow they're still holding up because nobody's held accountable. And they'll get back on the next day and do it over and over and over again. You will continue to see corruption in our intel agencies, in our justice system, because nobody's held accountable. And so what that's going to lead to is a one-party rule, to where only one side is held accountable and the other side gets to do whatever it wants. I don't know about you, but that is certainly not a country that I want to live in. But that is the road we're going down. So anyways, I didn't think the show was going to last that long. I certainly didn't plan on it. We got another segment coming up. I want to go through what is in this monstrosity of a bill that was passed by the Republican House and Senate that the American people are once again stuck flipping the bill for. I want to go through in details what it funds and what the American taxpayer are paying for. And so that's what we're going to go through on the next segment. I want to touch base on, because I don't think enough time was spent on the case, the Missouri versus Biden, the case that's in front of the Supreme Court right now, where they're arguing essentially the government's having the ability, the legal authority to censor people's speech online. Like, I really don't think the conservatives and, you know, the freedom-loving people on the right, I don't think we spent enough time on that. I heard people talking about it for 1 or 2 days, and then it was gone. This may be the most important case we've seen in front of the Supreme Court in my lifetime. And so I want to go through the details about that. I want to go through a couple key facts. And most of all, I want to point out the leftist viewpoints on why they think it's okay that the government should be able to censor people's speech online. And I have some audio of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. What she says, her opinion, right? Her opinion on the matter is the epitome of how the leftists think about government censoring the American people's speech online. So I want to go through that audio. Like I said, that's a big case. I think it's important that we focus on a few things. And then I want to touch base on the Biden impeachment hearings. I have some, I guess you can call them, I have some highlights from the Joe Biden impeachment hearings where they brought the Biden business partners in. Everybody was subpoenaed. Everybody had to show up except for, that's right, Hunter Biden. So Hunter Biden was subpoenaed. Everybody was subpoenaed, but Hunter Biden doesn't show up. Do you think he's going to be held accountable? Probably not. But I have some highlights that I want to go through of that. There's so much stuff to get into, and I'm just trying to sift through it all and give you the most important stuff that's coming out right now. But like I said in the beginning, Donald Trump does seem to have the funds to appeal this case, and I'm just curious to see where he got it. I'm not throwing any conspiracies out there, but I just find it kind of coincidental that Elon Musk and Donald Trump were having breakfast just a little over a week ago, and Donald Trump managed to come up with $500 million cash. So we'll see, but without selling any of his property. I don't know. I don't know, but we got a lot of stuff to get into, so I just wanted to get on here and read this beautiful article from Daniel Henninger and how the Democrats lawfare are destroying the entire justice system and right along with the science that they manipulated and weaponized in order to lie to the American people, thus for ruining the trust and credibility into our health institutions and eroding science itself with that escapade that they forced onto us for 2 years. So that's what we're going to talk about on the next show. If you guys want to support the show, please follow the podcast on all podcast platforms. If you want to follow the show on Rumble, you can find me at Rumble. Also, you can find the show on YouTube. I post the show to Rumble and to YouTube for the people that want to listen on Rumble or YouTube. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can get a hold of me, Steven Tauriello Show at gmail.com. I actually have a pretty good interview, I think, coming up next week. I want to interview somebody that is, he has a pretty good idea of the Democrats' plans in Chicago and the illegal immigrants and voting and all that stuff. So I will talk to you guys in the next segment. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. I want you guys to have a good day. God bless you and God bless America. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.